My name is Rose, and I'm 27 years old. This year, I decided to do something for myself. Just once. I had been working nonstop, paying for everything in the house, covering my younger sister's college tuition, paying the rent, the groceries, the internet, even her phone bill. Our parents weren't around anymore, so I stepped up and took responsibility for everything. But no one ever said thank you. Still, I thought maybe my birthday could be a small break from all that. I saved a little money, ordered a cake, cleaned the apartment, and set up some simple decorations. I invited a few friends, nothing fancy, just people who made me feel seen and appreciated. I even wore a new dress I bought on sale. I stood in front of the mirror, smiled at myself, and whispered, "You deserve this, Rose." Then Rachel walked in. My younger sister, 22 years old, always loud, always the center of attention. The kind of person who wants the spotlight even if it's not her moment. The second she saw the cake and the smiling guests, her whole vibe shifted. She looked around the room, smirked, and said, "Seriously? You threw a party for yourself? That's sad." Before I could answer, she walked up to the table and slammed her hand into the cake, completely smashing it. Gasps filled the room. I stood there, frozen, my heart racing. The room went silent. Some of my friends looked away. Others stared at Rachel in disbelief. But she wasn't done. She turned to everyone and said loudly, "Don't be fooled. She acts like she's generous, but she's broke and boring. Always playing pretend." That moment felt like a punch to the stomach. I had paid for everything in her life, her school, her books, her clothes, even her coffee, and she had the nerve to call me cheap? Tears built up in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. I just looked at her, and something inside me hardened. I didn't know it yet, but this was the moment everything would change. I didn't sleep that night. After the guests quietly slipped out, some of them texting apologies, others just vanishing without a word, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the ruined cake. The frosting was smeared across the table, and the candles I never got to blow out were bent and broken. The smell of vanilla, once comforting, now made my stomach turn. Rachel slammed her bedroom door, like she was the victim. I cleaned everything in silence. No one helped me, not even an apology from her. I didn't expect one, but part of me hoped, just for a second, that maybe she'd say something. But no. Her music blasted through the wall, loud and carefree, like nothing had happened. Around 2 a.m., I walked into my room, opened my laptop, and pulled up every bill in my name. Electricity, paid. Water, paid. Groceries, me. Tuition payments, all me. Her college dorm rent from last semester, me. It hit me then. I wasn't just her sister. I was her safety net. Her wallet. Her excuse to be careless. And the worst part? She didn't even respect me. Not a little. Not even enough to let me have one peaceful birthday. I picked up my phone and typed a message to her. "Starting next week, you're responsible for your own bills. I'm done." I stared at the screen for a minute and then I hit send. No more silent sacrifice. No more being taken for granted. If she wanted to treat me like I was nothing, then she could see what life looked like without me. I grabbed my backpack, packed a few clothes, and left the apartment that night. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I didn't even cry. I just walked away. And I had no idea what kind of storm I had just unleashed. I stayed with my friend Alyssa for a few days. She lived in a small one-bedroom apartment downtown, barely enough space for 2 people, but she welcomed me without a second thought. When I told her what happened, she just shook her head and said, "You've been holding that house together for years, Rose. I'm honestly surprised it took you this long to walk away." It felt strange hearing that. Like maybe I wasn't the crazy one for finally saying no. For the first time in years, I slept without worrying about bills or Rachel's problems. I didn't wake up to her screaming about her missing makeup or complaining that the Wi-Fi was slow. I didn't have to cook dinner for someone who never said thank you. Meanwhile, back at the apartment, the cracks started showing fast. By day 3, I got a call from the electric company. Rachel hadn't paid a thing. I told them to remove my name from the account, and I did the same with the water, internet, and even the lease. By day 5, her university sent a notice. Her tuition for the upcoming semester was past due, and without payment, her enrollment would be suspended. She finally texted me that night. Why is everything in this house falling apart? The internet's out and my school is saying I owe money. Can you just fix it? I stared at her message, stunned. No apology. No understanding. Just demands. I replied with one sentence. You broke the cake and call me cheap. Now deal with the real cost. She didn't text again after that. A few days later, our parents called. They live a few hours away and had always assumed Rachel and I were handling things. I hadn't told them what happened yet, but Rachel had. Except, she twisted the story. She said you left without warning and ruined her life, Mom said over the phone, clearly stressed. I took a deep breath. Mom, I've been paying her tuition, rent, food, everything. She humiliated me at my birthday party in front of my friends. She smashed my cake. She called me cheap. All in the apartment I pay for. Silence. Then Mom asked quietly, is that true? I emailed her all the receipts. Every bank statement. Every payment. Every tuition confirmation. Everything Rachel never mentioned. That night I got a different call, this time from my dad. His voice was angry.
But not at me.
She lied to us, Rose. She made it sound like you abandoned her. But you've been carrying her this whole time. All I said was, I know. And that's when I realized something. The truth was finally out. But what came next was even more shocking. About 2 weeks later, I got an invitation to a family lunch. My parents said they wanted to talk things through, and Rachel would be there too. At first, I didn't want to go. I didn't trust her. But a part of me needed closure, or at least the chance to say everything I had held in for years. So I went. The lunch was held at my parents' house. When I walked in, I noticed they'd set the table nicely, like they were trying to create a calm environment. But the air was thick with tension. Rachel was already sitting at the table, arms crossed, pretending to scroll through her phone like nothing had happened. I sat down across from her, silent. Dad cleared his throat. Before we eat, we need to get everything out in the open. Rachel looked up, her eyes cold. Why does everyone think I'm the problem? Just because she left and made a scene? You always take her side. That was it. I pulled out a small folder I had brought and calmly placed it on the table. Inside were printed copies of my bank transfers, tuition receipts, and utility bills, all in my name. I looked at my parents and said, this is everything I paid for over the last 3 years. Rent, college fees, her phone bill, groceries. Even the decorations and cake she destroyed at my birthday. My mom picked up one of the papers, her hands slightly shaking. Dad's jaw tightened as he flipped through the rest. Rachel started fidgeting in her seat, her fake calm breaking. She said you paid your half, Dad said, glaring at Rachel. You told us she was selfish. But all this time, you were living off her. Rachel stood up suddenly. Oh, come on. So what? She's older. She's supposed to help. That's what family does, right? I stood too. Family doesn't destroy your cake and call you cheap in front of your friends. Family doesn't lie and then expect more money like nothing happened. She rolled her eyes and muttered, you're so dramatic. But my parents weren't buying it anymore. That's enough, Mom said firmly, her voice shaking with disappointment. You owe your sister an apology. And not just for the money. For everything. Rachel stormed out of the room without another word. I didn't follow her. Instead, my dad placed his hand on my shoulder and said quietly, I'm sorry, Rose. We didn't see how much you were doing. We should have paid more attention. It wasn't everything I wanted to hear, but it was something. For the first time, I felt like someone had finally seen the truth. That day changed everything in our family. But Rachel's fall from grace had only just begun. After the truth came out at the family lunch, Rachel's world started crumbling. Fast. My parents stopped covering for her. They told her she had 1 month to start taking responsibility or move out of their home. She tried to act like she didn't care, but it was obvious she wasn't used to hearing the word no. Within days, Her university emailed her again, this time with a final warning: pay the remaining tuition or be officially dropped from her courses. She had no savings, no job, and her friends, who once praised her confidence, started backing away after hearing what she did to me. Word spreads fast when people find out you humiliated your own sister on her birthday. She tried texting me again. Look, I know I was a little harsh, but I'm under pressure too. Can you please help me out just this one time? I didn't respond. Then came the twist I wasn't expecting. She forged a payment receipt and sent it to the university, hoping they'd believe it long enough for her to stay enrolled. But the school verified it, and when they saw it was fake, they expelled her. That news hit my parent hard. Dad told me over the phone. She lied again, Rose. She's suspended, possibly permanently. And now she's blaming us all. Meanwhile, I was finally getting my own life on track. I found a better job with a salary that didn't just cover bills, it let me breathe. I signed the lease on a small apartment of my own. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Peaceful. Quiet. No yelling. No slammed doors. I started making time for myself, reading, going out with real friends, even taking a weekend cooking class I'd always dreamed of. And just when I thought the drama was over, Rachel showed up at my apartment door one evening. Her eyes were puffy. Her clothes looked messy. She hadn't come to yell. She had come to beg. I don't have anywhere to go, she said. Please, just for a little while. I stared at her. The same sister who mocked me, ruined my birthday, and never apologized, now standing in front of me asking for help. I took a deep breath and said, Rachel, I wish you had thought about this before calling me cheap. Before using me. Before breaking my trust. She looked down, silent. I'm not going to slam the door in your face, I continued, but I won't be your safety net anymore. If you want help, real help, you need to start over. On your own. I handed her a list of nearby job openings and women's housing centers that could help. She didn't say thank you. She didn't say sorry. She just took the paper and walked away. That was the last time I saw her for months. Months passed. The weight that had been pressing on my shoulders for years, the guilt, the pressure, the silence, was finally gone. I didn't realize how deeply it had affected me until I started waking up without that heavy feeling in my chest. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. I decorated my little apartment exactly how I wanted. Soft colors, quiet plants by the window, books stacked next to my bed. I even bought a secondhand piano, something I had always dreamed of owning since I was a kid, but never had the money or time to learn. Now, in the evenings after work, I'd sit by the window and play softly, letting the music carry the pain away. One day, I opened my email and found something unexpected, an invitation to speak at a young women's empowerment event hosted by a local nonprofit. One of the organizers had heard about my story from a friend, how I stood up for myself, broke the cycle, and found freedom. At first, I hesitated. I wasn't used to standing on a stage. But something in me whispered, you've been quiet long enough. So I said yes. The night of the event, I stood in front of a crowd of young women, some still teenagers, others mothers, all carrying their own quiet battles. I told them my story about being used, being called cheap, being humiliated, and how I chose to walk away. I said, sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about letting go, especially when the person you love doesn't respect your worth. The room was quiet, but not in an empty way, in a powerful one. When I stepped off the stage, people hugged me. Some cried. One woman whispered, I thought I was alone. After that, I kept speaking. I joined the nonprofit, mentoring girls who had been through financial or emotional abuse. I wasn't just Rose, the sister who paid the bills. I was Rose, the survivor who bloomed again. And as for Rachel, she eventually got a part-time job at a clothing store across town. My mom told me she was trying to get her GED after her expulsion. I didn't ask for details. I had no interest in checking up on someone who had treated me like a doormat for years. One day, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a short note, written in shaky handwriting. I don't expect forgiveness. But I see it now. I destroyed everything. You didn't deserve that. Thank you for showing me what strength really looks like. Rachel. I read it once. Then again. I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. Not because I planned to reply, but because it was the first time in her life she had told the truth. I didn't need her apology to move on. I had already started over. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. I upload new powerful stories every week, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support means the world, and I can't wait to share the next chapter with you.